Hi everybody, it's Lady Kaylah here, and I'm back. Who knew that after so long not being on YouTube, I believe it's been like 2 years, that I would return doing the very thing that got me started on YouTube in the first place. Book reviews, yay! And shout out to my awesome shirt. We shall call it This Land. If you know where that's from, you're awesome, and it's very popular sci-fi series, so it's not like it's that enigmatic. But anyway, I'm back, and I'm going to review Patrick Rothfuss's The Slow Regard of Silent Things. Now, as you can see, it's not a very big book, and it was easy to read in like one night, and it was very amazing. Basically, this book is kind of like a little spin-off of his very popular series, The Kingkiller Chronicles, which right now only has 2 out of the 3 books out, and we have been waiting for book 3 since 2011. So it's almost been 7 years. um, and that's about as long as I waited for Dance with Dragons to come out from George R. R. Martin. So it's like, I waited 6 fucking years for Dance with Dragons, and now I have to wait for another favorite book series of mine, which is this one. It's been near 7 years. So, here is a book about one of the characters in the Kingkiller Chronicles. It's not about the main character, and it's done very uniquely and differently. The first thing I want to say about this book is that it's not going to be for everyone because it is done so differently from most every other book. Most books, they have, this kind of plot that goes somewhere, that has its ups and downs, that has its climaxes, that has its character development, that has its action, its conflict, all those traditional elements of a story that make a story. This book doesn't really have. We're pretty much following a very enigmatic and fae-like character, and it's interesting because it's not at all traditional. You're not going to be getting your ups and downs. You're not going to be getting your, I don't know how to explain it, like the ball rolling. It's pretty much just this the whole way through. You're just in someone's mind pretty much the whole way through. And a lot of people described reading this book as, wanting to beat it over their heads because there's not much there other than you following this very queer character. And yeah, she's definitely interesting. So we're following the character Ari, and if you haven't read the Kingkiller Chronicles, this could be a standalone if you do like an interesting little short story that's very enigmatic and open-ended. But for the most part, you'll probably appreciate the book more if you have read the Kingkiller Chronicle. And the way this is set up is it kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger that I think is going to set you up for book 3. So in a way it kind of has like a little mini tidbit spoiler. I don't want to say like a true spoiler or anything like that, but it definitely has some things that will tie into the book 3. And so in that sense, if you're a huge Kingkiller Chronicle fan, this might be a little bit of a way to take the edge off. Obviously, it's been out since 2014, so I'm a little late to the game. I didn't know this was out until I randomly went through a bookstore and saw it. So forgive me for being a little late, but if you're like me and you didn't know this existed and you have read the Kingkiller Chronicle, you may want to pick this up, but then again, you may not, depending on your reading style and reading preferences. This book did not go over very well with a lot of the fans, but it did with me. And one of the first things I noticed right away was that it had Patrick Rothfuss's very romantic and poetic almost style of writing. It's very flourished. Patrick Rothfuss writes in a very flourished, fashion, very much like a poet, somebody who articulates themselves in a way that is very pleasing. And that is one of the things that attracts me to Rothfuss's work the most. So I immediately picked that up right away, that this was Rothfuss's style, and it was just going to be taken for a very different character. And Ari in itself is a very interesting character. She is very enigmatic. She's very puzzling. She's very confused, and I don't think she's confused herself, but other people have her confused, outsiders looking in, and in that sense is why I compare her to the Fae, because Fae are very chaotic. Fae are very flighty and, witty and cunning and just don't make sense to, humans like you and me. And because of that, I think she actually is a very huge key in how the magic for Patrick Rothfuss's universe works, which is name-based. She is able to, when read her story, she's able to find out the true names of things, and the way she does it, you don't know if she has if she's truly naming things, because name gives you control over things, but she doesn't believe that it is her place to have any control over anything else. It's just her place to make everything feel at home. And so in that way, she's very interesting, and I think that's what makes her such a key to Rothfuss's magic, is because she understands things in a more true and pure sense than anybody else who tries to study magic can do. So I'm just completely taken with her, and completely in love with her, and I think it's an amazing little tale. But like I said, it's not a traditional story. It's not. She doesn't have any conflicts. She does just go through her everydays in her weird, neurotic kind of a way, but it's her world, and it's very different from our world, and that's what we're following. We're just following someone's everyday. Like, just imagine if you followed somebody for every day for like 7 days, because I think that's how many days we get with Ari, is 7 days. And so just imagine you're following a neurotic type person for 7 days. You're watching them do normal everyday things. Like, to most people that's very boring, and that's very disinteresting, and so I can see why a lot of people had trouble reading this book, because there's just nothing there that makes it a story for the most part. And so it's definitely interesting, but I connected with this character for a couple of reasons, and one of those reasons is the way that she does go about things, the way that she cares for things, whether they're inanimate objects or not. It reminded me of, nostalgic times when I was like a child, and when you're a child you can feel your stuffed animal's emotions. Like, you knew when your stuffed animal was upset and you wanted to please your stuffed animal even though it was an inanimate object, or you went outside and you played with sticks and for some reason you had this beautiful affinity with nature and you could just tell when the plants were upset, or things like that. And maybe it was just in our heads as we were kids, but maybe it was something more. Maybe we did have a connection with inanimate things that we no longer have. Whatever the reason is, that's what this story kind of reminded me of. This is what Ari reminded me of, was her, attention to other things around her. And when I say things, I mean like objects, because she's isolated and alone. And so that might have been very jarring for other people, or disinteresting for other people, because we no longer have that connect as adults. But for me, I love reading childhood wonder kind of aspects that a character might have, and she's definitely one of those kinds of characters. Another thing that resonated with me and I felt like I connected with her was sometimes in between her like weird way of saying things and the way that she explains things in her head or justifies things in her head, I feel like it tells a story. To other people it might just seem like nonsense, or it might just seem a little poetic, but I definitely think within her, or the text that we're given about her, whether it be her thoughts or details about her. Um, we can gain some information. I think that she has been through some crazy trauma and she has been through a lot, and maybe that was a contributing factor to why she is what we would consider mad, or not mad as in an angry sense, but in a kind of mental illness state. And so I picked up a couple things that definitely clued me into that she had been through some hardcore shit. Someone definitely pushed their boundaries with her, is what I'm getting. She also goes into these sort of states, especially when she's high stressed or very in tune with what's around her and can't handle it. What I call dissociative panic attacks. Dissociative panic attacks. And those are things that I go through, and the way that she goes into these states just reminds me of how I withdraw when I'm having a mental illness kind of a attack. And that's obviously another kind of connection that I have with this character. And so I don't know. There's a story here that I think people can gain if they give it a try. It's definitely a read between the lines kind of a book, and it's definitely not in any sense traditional. So I don't know. I really liked it. If you're a big Kingkiller Chronicle fan, you want something to hold you over, give it a try. I don't think it's going to go over well for everybody, so I can't recommend it for everyone. But if you're a fan, it doesn't hurt to give it a try. It doesn't hurt to have it in your collection, even if you don't like it. So, that's that. I feel like it's very reflective of the character, so for people to expect something less than this for a character like Ari, I think that's a bit unfair for them to do. You know, that's all I have to say about that. So, yeah, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope I get more content out to you guys soon. So, thank you for your time. Bye.